Charles, many were upset and disgusted to witness a LGBT march called the Dyke March in New York last weekend. And many were angry because they wound up going to a park this march to a park, from my understanding, that when they got to the park, they got naked, some of them, and began to sexually engage each other in the park, in the presence of children, in the presence of the public, behavior that I believe belongs behind closed doors and privacy. They decided to exhibit sexual contact and engage one another in a sexual manner and way. To what degree they went all the way, I don't know. But to do that in front of children, to do that in front of young people and our babies is distasteful. And I believe that all gay people don't believe that's appropriate. And I believe all dykes, because I thought the word dyke was a gay slur, but now they're calling themselves the Dyke March. I believe that we're living in a time now that sexual immorality is destroying the fiber of this nation. And if you want to be a dyke, you can at least have sex in private behind closed doors. That's the appropriate thing to do.
So a lot of the stuff I've seen was just toplessness, right? And there is an argument globally whether if a man being topless and a woman being topless, if there's any difference there. And why do we have these somewhat puritanical views on a woman's chest that doesn't apply to a men's chest? And when you say people were offended, it does not appear that any of the participants or people that attended the end of the march at Washington Square Park were offended. It seems like the conservative media spaces have constructed offense. And on the flip side, you've seen like some commentators who have tried to draw a parallel between nude beaches in Florida, which are permitted in some spaces, and you have some in other parts of this country, which obviously a conservative run state, versus the public nudity in the park. And I do see there being a difference there. Like a nude beach is typically just for adults, and it's usually isolated, whereas Washington Square Park is in the heart of Greenwich Village. And, you know, while I would think everyone can agree that like actual sexuality between people, but, you know, what I found far more disturbing at the Pride March is you had people chanting, "We're coming for your kids," which is obviously a response to criticism by, you know, conservatives about people coming for their kids and alleged grooming and brainwashing. And I don't subscribe to that theory, right? Because I think that it's very clear that, you know, if you're not going to get turned gay because someone talks to you about homosexuality. But to your point, I mean, we've seen books in elementary and junior high that involve masturbation and the insertion of butt plugs and all kind of craziness. And then when people say, "Hey, no, this is too much," you get called a homophobe or a transphobe. And I think it's a more delicate balance, right? Because Quanell, you seem to forget that just 2 decades ago in this state, it was illegal, even in the privacy of your own home, to engage in homosexual sodomy. It was a crime, right? And, you know, 50 years ago, we've talked about this before, Alan Turing committed suicide, the smartest man of the last century, and one of the smartest men in the history of the world, because he was convicted of being a homosexual. So you have this pendulum. You have this pendulum of intolerance over here that has swung back to this pendulum of intolerance to people that have...
So do you think that we, the American public, should be tolerant of people openly naked in a park or in public anywhere, in the presence of children having sex? And let me say this, Charles. We're both fathers. The most sacred thing to us, more than our own lives, is our children. So when you chanting that we're coming for your children, I would implore and I would suggest and encourage members of the gay community to tell others to stop chanting that chant. Because if you want to fight ignorance, you do it with education. But you don't make veiled, subtle threats saying we're coming after your children, because when you say stuff like that, then you force people to come after your ass because you putting their kids in it now. So if you want us to be tolerant, if you want us to learn, if you want us to grow and evolve, you damn sure don't chant something like we coming after your kids. because that's a declaration of war for many who hear that.
When you talk about us, I assume you're talking about heterosexual people. But,
Yes.
But here in Houston, we have a long history of people coming after gay people, right? In fact, the whole Montrose bar community, the homosexual bar, it's off of a main road and hidden in a neighborhood because of oppression. Obviously, famously, we had the gay bashing incident in the early 90s that made national news when a guy was just beaten to death walking down the street. And we have had marked intolerance. Our junior senator, Ted Cruz, went up to Kentucky to stand next to the woman that was refusing to issue gay marriage license despite the Supreme Court mandate that it happened. So we've had a lot of intolerance and horrible things on both sides of this. But I don't think, just like no one's responsible for anyone they share some immutable characteristic with, I think it's a little bit ridiculous to tell a gay person that they must police what another gay person says, or that it's okay to oppress them because of something another gay person said.
No, I don't think it's wrong to say that.
You're talking about as groups. That's what you just said.
Because see, just
you
like
said
black
if you
people.
don't want us.
Just like black people.
Okay, what about
we
black
have
people?
to stand up as black leaders and speak out about the crimes that we see taking place every day in the black community that are taking place black on black crimes.
Okay, but what about
when
black on
white men,
crimes?
wait a minute, when white folks commit these same crimes, there's protests, there's outcries. But when we as black people commit these same crimes, we're silent, we don't say nothing. That's hypocrisy. I'm saying the same thing to gay people. All gay people don't think alike. All gay people don't have the same beliefs. Some of the most respectful people I've ever met have been gay people. Some of the most trustworthy people I've met have been gay people. But I've even stood up and held press conferences and protests for gays who've been violated. But what I don't want is for people in the gay community to be chanting, "We're coming for your kids." Now, hell no, man. You're going too far there.
Well, I don't think you can speak about an entire community because of what individuals, like you were talking about crime, right? When you look at black male violent criminals, just that subset, right? They commit a huge outsized portion of violent crime in America, over half the murders, despite being, such a small fraction of the community. And for someone to condemn the black community because of that, especially someone that's not a member of the black community, well, that's just bigotry and racism. And
No, that's wrong.
No.
That's wrong. That's wrong, Charles.
Okay.
Your statistics you're quoting could very well be correct. I don't doubt that.
No, they absolutely are.
But you can condemn black leaders who speak about white people committing these crimes against black people.
I'm not talking about leadership.
But
I'm talking about
but
racist.
Leadership is the problem, Charles. Because we don't want to talk about that in the black community, what we're doing to one another. We don't want to talk about the enormous murders in America being carried out by us against us. We don't want to talk about that. But you see these same leaders who will rush to a microphone in a heartbeat if a white person commits that crime. If a white cop shoots a young black man unjustly, we'll rush to microphones and say, put the cop in jail, fire the cop. Okay, fine if he's wrong. But then right there in Chicago, we got black men shooting kids and not a damn black leader saying nothing.
No, I'm not disagreeing with your point about those that seek a microphone to manipulate perception and make a living. What I'm disagreeing with is the people that say, okay, let's say, so when you talk black on black crime, let's talk black on white crime. It is overwhelmingly one direction. It's overwhelmingly committed by black criminals versus white victims, right? You have some going the other way, but it's incredible statistical rarity. And when you back the Hispanic or Latin population out of what you call white, it becomes even far, far smaller, right? But for anyone to say, okay, because I was victimized by a black criminal, I'm going to demonize or talk about all black people, that's disgusting racism,
That's
right?
true.
It's bigotry. Because
You're
nobody's
right.
defined by their complexion, just like no one's defined by their sexuality. Just because you're gay doesn't mean you should suffer some oppressive conduct or anything because of something somebody said or chanted at a pride parade.
But just because you're gay don't mean that you should exhibit intolerant behavior toward those who are not gay and those who disagree with your sexual choice.
Right, but what you're saying is that it's going to impact how you or how people treat gay people universally or
will.
holistically.
If you don't have members to bring a balance.
But you don't
bring a balance to the discussion,
but
Charles.
you'll agree that it's a racist of a white person to think that, oh, because I suffered a crime committed by a black criminal, I'm going to hold this against all black people. Well, it's the same math when you talk about gays. And here, no, hold on. At these pride parades, They are largely parents that took their kids there. If you don't know there's going to be some craziness at a New York Pride Parade, then that's
all right,
on
so
you.
let me stop you right
so
there.
So you
then.
think parents that take their kids to a nude beach and they're, oh my God, it's nude.
Let me say this. If we're not going to promote and push hypocrisy, yes. Because there are parents right now who CPS have gone to their homes and pulled those kids out of the homes because the parents was watching a pornographic video on television and the child saw it and went to school and told somebody, and then CPS came and removed the children because it was an unsafe environment. So those same parents can take their kids to a nude beach and let them watch other male adults and female adults butt naked laying up under each other and nothing happens. That's hypocrisy. America is full of hypocrisy, Charles.
Well, there's a huge difference between sexual acts and nudity. And everything I saw, the photos at Washington Square Park were just topless women, right?
Wasn't nobody kissing?
And many, people were kissing, but
They
I didn't see
wasn't
anybody
nobody
having
rubbing no
sex.
titties?
Right? No, I didn't see any picture of that. Yeah, I'll try.
Wasn't they
try to
rubbing no
look
titties?
But at the end of the day, in many
Send me the
nations,
link. Send me the link.
and I'm
Let
sure
me
you want to
reinvestigate the story.
I don't think there are any titties
I
that you
want
want
to
see.
reinvestigate the story to be sure.
But at the end of the day, many parts of this world, topless women, and in some of this country itself, it is, if it's okay for men to go topless, it is determined that it's okay for women to go topless.
Do you agree with that?
I agree with that. And in fact, in Austin, where I grew up, at Zilker Park at Barton Springs, the pool, my entire childhood and to this day, women can go topless just like men going topless, right? And I don't have any issue with women going topless. I wouldn't.
I'm not going to lie like that. I have a degree of hypocrisy involved in that.
Okay.
Because I believe that confession is good for the soul. The scripture teaches that confession is good for the soul. I don't think women should go topless in public like that. But I'm not going to lie. If Beyonce decided to go topless, I'm not going to object.
But
I'll
this
be
is you
lying.
making
I'll
a
be
joke
lying.
about something that you
I ain't
started.
making no damn joke. I'm telling you the truth. If Beyonce decided to go topless, I'm going to sit there and watch. If the Bella twins from WWE decide they going to go topless, just give me the time. I'm going to sit there and get a bag of chips and watch. No, I'm not going to lie. Because we on TV, I'm going to sit here and lie. I'm going to tell the truth. I don't want no women walking around topless, old, and, about to go to retirement home, about to get a half price off the elderly meal.
But men can do that?
I don't want a man take off his shirt, walking around jogging, working out. Come on,
But see, that's the puritanical
men been taking off their
hypocrisy.
shirt since the beginning of time. Even God didn't have a problem with a man taking off his shirt, in public, working, plowing the fields, planting seeds and cutting down trees and putting roofs on houses. It's hot, so he take off his shirt. Now, I don't want to see women just walking around doing that. But I told you, I'm no hypocrite.
Where did the human race begin?
That's a hell of a discussion.
No, but just as a simple.
Because it did not begin with the Adamic race of people.
Okay.
Began in Africa.
Right, in Africa,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the origins of humanity spring forth from Africa.
Yes.
Right? And in Africa, it is incredibly common for women to be topless, working.
And ain't nobody
living
raping
their life.
them.
Well.
Ain't nobody sexually harassing them.
Okay, but it's so you think that it's okay over there in Africa, but it's not okay here?
Well, listen to me.
And so wait,
Well,
hold on.
hold on.
No, hold on. And so when you talk, ain't nobody raping them, right? That, of course, is the argument made by many totalitarian Muslim regimes that require burqas and headscarves and ankles, and that, a lot of puritanical, far right Christian denominations also require women to be covered because it might induce some salacious thoughts in a man's head.
It can, and it does.
But that's absolute hypocrisy.
God did
That's
not create a natural
hypocrisy.
man. God did not create a natural man to just totally ignore and control himself.
What do you mean not control yourself?
In the presence
Well,
of a beautiful naked woman.
So if a woman's naked, you're going to rape her?
If a woman is,
That's
no, I didn't say that.
insane.
I didn't say that.
Not control
I didn't say
yourself.
that. But no man in the presence
So
of
we need
a
to put women in
beautiful naked woman.
Quanell says we need to put women in burqas.
Can I finish?
Okay.
No man in the presence of a beautiful, fine, naked woman is not going to have reckless eyeballs. It's not natural for him not to sit there and get himself locked in like a radar, and that woman's so beautiful and so fine. If he's a natural man.
So you don't think women see men that are in shape and cut up and they don't have sexual thoughts when they see them?
I think they do. I kind of experience things like that when I'm in the gym sometime and I'm working out. I've
Okay.
kind of been harassed myself, so I can kind of relate to that.
So what's the difference, Quanell? So should you be walking around in a burqa? Should you not be allowed to take your shirt off?
Because every man in the gym that's being sexually harassed by women, we ain't filing no police reports. We ain't filing no complaints. If them beautiful, fine women in the gym want to sexually harass them,
What
us
if they're
guys,
not beautiful and fine? Or what if the guy's a homosexual?
Now, see, if he's a homosexual, that's a different story.
Well, why?
No, don't bring that my way, boss.
But why?
No, we're not doing that.
Okay, no,
Because I don't bat from both sides of the plate.
But
now, look here, man.
No, I'm not saying you. You're turning into that
No,
just to
I'm
avoid.
not.
But why? Why is it different? What if a man feels harassed? What if, if you're saying that a man can't control himself? Of course a man, if he is properly
Well, let me
raised,
say
he can
this
control
to the
himself.
man who
And
feels
that's a
harassed in the
crazy,
gym by some woman
backwards
sexually harassing
argument.
him. If you got a woman sexually harassing you in the gym, be sure to tell all the other guys in the gym that you're being sexually harassed by that woman, and you will have some protection. They will cover you to make sure they run interference for you.
But why
Let's
should
keep it
women,
real, Charles.
Why should women not be able to live their lives and dress as they want because they have to be fear of sexual assault?
No,
I mean,
but women,
literally,
but
that
women
is the
and
math
men
of Saudi
both,
Arabia.
But women
that
and men
is
both
the
should
math of
dress
the
respectfully.
Southern Baptist Council.
No.
That is the math of Pentecostal
We all should have modest
Christians.
dress on. We all should dress modest. We all should
Okay, that's not what
dress
you're saying. You're
modest
saying
and
men,
respectable.
men cannot wear shirts, but women have to.
But I believe it's more appropriate.
But if it's Beyonce, it's okay.
No,
I mean, I'm just quoting you.
you wouldn't watch.
What I watch.
If Beyonce said she was coming on going topless down
Of
Walker,
course.
of course.
Who wouldn't?
And I'm saying, who you bringing with you? Your backup dancers? But anyway, the bottom line is, I'm not going to sit and be a hypocrite.
I'm more of a Kelly than a Beyonce, but that's a whole different story.
Kelly. Anyway,
Man,
but as
come
I
on.
was saying, back to my initial point, I don't think women should walk around just being topless like that.
But why
In
not?
some rare occasions.
But why not? The question
some
is why.
rare occasions.
But why not?
In the appropriate
But
environment.
why not?
With the right set of circumstances.
But why not,
With the
Quanell?
kids being put to bed.
But Quanell, why not? What
Because
is a bare woman's
because-
chest different from a bare
because
man's
I don't
chest?
think it's appropriate. I don't think it's the right thing to do.
Okay,
And-
so-
and what it does, it causes men to sexually devalue women, and it causes men to not
But
see the
only
true value
ignorant,
of a
stupid
woman.
men. So why are women supposed to control? Especially
And
so
let
you
me
have
say
this pride
this.
parade,
Most
this pride
men-
march
most men are not
that is
highly
for
intelligent when it comes
lesbian
to that naked woman.
that want to be proud of their lesbianism. Why do we care how they dress or what they wear? Now, if they're
But
having
don't do it in front of
full-out
kids.
sex in front of children, that's different.
Don't do it in
But
front of
that's
kids.
not what I saw. I just
But
saw a
we
bunch
did
of
see
topless
one-
women.
but we
And if
did
you
see a
don't
gay
like
parade.
it, take your kid
But
home.
we did see a gay parade with some of them walking around with fake dildos in front of kids.
Okay.
With
And
strap-ons
again,
in front of kids.
I think
somebody should have took off their belt and whooped the ass who was doing
You
that,
shouldn't
because
be
that's
assaulting anyone.
absolutely, yes, we should.
Are you?
Yes, we should.
If you took your child
Yes,
to
we
that
should.
parade, if you took your child to that parade, would you be surprised?
I would, well, to be honest with you, yes.
Why?
Because I don't think that no parade should degrade itself and degrade itself to pornography in the name of celebration.
I don't
believe that.
disagree that. I do think like the dildos and all that's a little far. You see people in like dog collars on all fours and all that weirdness.
Man, I mean,
but,
let
but
me tell
on
you
the
something.
flip side,
if you're a man, and I got my daughter out there, you walking around with a dildo on, man, look here, you might get your ass kicked. Because at the end of the day, that's out of line, man.
But here's
we got to
the thing.
stand up and say enough is enough
People
to
have
some
been
of this
afraid of
foolishness.
getting their asses kicked, as you say.
Yeah, but don't walk around no damn
for
dildo in front of
centuries.
somebody's
But
child.
at some point, Quanell, you have to recognize that the incredible oppression that isn't that far removed, and it's much more recent than, like, the laws oppressing gay people have been on the books up until just a few years ago.
And we as black folks had those same laws.
Much
Yes, we
more
did.
recent than Jim Crow. Much more recent than Loving v. Virginia, which of course overturned
In
the
some
outlawing
states,
of
interracial
miscegenation.
marriage was against the law.
No, I get it. And in
So we have suffered those same
I
atrocities.
literally just said in Loving v. Virginia, but that was from the 50s, Quanell. But just being gay in Texas was illegal up until 2003. Okay? And that's insane.
Let
in
me
fact,
tell you something,
I
Charles.
worked at the Court
You
of
may not
Appeals
believe
where they
this.
affirmed it that was then
Charles,
overturned by the Supreme
Charles,
Court.
do you know
and
that,
it's insane.
Do you know that there's some Texas neighborhoods, still right now to this day in Texas, in their chartered bylaws, that there can be no interracial marriage couples in their neighborhood,
but-
still exists right now to this day.
There are some historic
They're not
HOA
really enforced, but it's
not
still in
really.
writing. But it's in writing.
They have not been allowed to have been enforced since Loving v. Virginia was issued. So
Yeah,
over
but they're still in
70
writing.
years. Okay, but it's not enforceable.
But
we
the-
have all
but-
kind of stuff.
but the idea that they have not
Texas's
removed
penal
it
code,
in their bylaws
Texas
says a
penal
lot
code
about them.
has a disorderly conduct law that is a huge, huge infringement of free speech. It's still on the books, but you can't enforce it if you get a good lawyer. So we have all of these things that exist, but the oppression of gays and the LGBT community is much more recent. But then we talk about the pendulum, right? We talk about the pendulum that's swinging. So if you object to people with penises playing sports with people with in leagues for people with vaginas, well, then you're a transphobe, and that's a little bit ridiculous, right? It's like we can't have any intelligent conversations because everyone is looking for a reason to demonize everyone. Gay people in the Pride Parade chanting, "We're coming for your kids," well, that's ridiculous, right? But straight people, conservatives, slowly, and religious, whether Muslim or Christian, that demonize gay people, well, that's also ridiculous, right? And at some point, maybe we should all start being reasonable. And you're talking about kicking someone's ass because you don't like what they're wearing. Well, maybe you should just have your kid there instead of assaulting someone.
Let me explain something to you, brother.
Okay.
If you're a grown man and you know kids are present and you walking around with a dildo strap on, you need your
okay, but if
you deserve it.
If
period.
it's a pride parade,
you're sick as hell, man.
That is, and of course, I will agree with you in that.
Man,
in 2023,
all gay people don't agree with that.
Well,
I believe.
No, I agree.
I believe that there's a large number of gay people who would say that's inappropriate.
Than 10 or 15 years ago, right? But at some point, we have to recognize that the recency of the oppression of gay people, and maybe we should start pushing back on some of the trans ideas about, oh, you can just decide what you're going to do.
I disagree with that too, because even though a man can transition into a woman, still, does it really make him a natural woman?
I think when you're looking
at a man who has not had the surgery, take a man who has not had the surgery. To give a man who has not had the surgery that made that complete transition, to honor that man as a female and call him Woman of the Year, to me is an insult and disrespect to all women who are natural born women who have fought for the rights of women for generations, to now take that award and give it to a man who thinks he's a woman and chooses to be one and dress like one, but still has the male genitalia, and giving Woman of the Year award, I think is wrong.
I'm far more concerned with people that do it maliciously or dishonestly, like the Korean spa incident in LA, where you had protesters for months until they found out he was a sex offender, demonizing the mothers who are upset about this person with a 5 o'clock shadow on a penis that got in a sauna with teenagers. You had, the thing you've had various incidents, but for the most part, trans people just want to live a normal life, okay? So what's hard to do is determine where to draw the line.
But
right?
they're extremists in everything, Charles. In religion, there's extremists.
Okay.
In politics,
but
there's
I don't
extremists.
hear you condemning
like
religious
Ted Cruz,
extremism.
Oh, I condemn it all day, every day, because extremism is not a part of Islam. But extremism is practiced in the name of Islam all over the world.
You don't think there's
and you
Islamist
have many
extremists?
You hear what I just said?
Were you not here for 9/11?
You didn't hear what I just said.
Have you not been to the Middle East?
You didn't hear what I just said.
Okay.
I said that extremism exists in religion. And extremism is practiced all over the world in religion and Islam. But also, let me tell you, 9/11 was religious extremism, yes. But also it was deeper than that, because one man's terrorist charge is another man's freedom fighter. The first act of using planes as weapons of mass destruction was used against black people by white people in America in Tulsa, Oklahoma. The first terrorist act using airplanes as weapons of mass destruction was against us by our white brothers right here in America. So we look at those and call them monsters. Here, we dealt with them same monsters right here in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
I never expected you to justify 9/11 at the end of a discussion about the LGBT community and pride parades, but you never cease to amaze me with your absurdities. And you just make stuff up, right? Like this whole thing of a first-time planes were used. No, you just literally take extremist rhetoric and repackage it.
They did use planes to bomb Tulsa, Oklahoma, Black Wall Street. Okay. They got in crop duster airplanes and they dropped nitroglycerin bombs and gasoline cocktail bombs on the entire black community.
That's the very first time that an airplane has been used to bomb America?
That was the first time that airplanes had been used to attack American citizens, even before Pearl Harbor.
Okay, but that's not true, right? And the thing is, you have to frame it. You're literally trying to justify 9/11.
If those were terrorists at 9/11, yes, they were terrorists. But those were terrorists also who white folks bombed black people in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Right? But you want to take every issue.
They're terrorists.
Well, yeah, they're criminals. Okay? But you want to take every issue.
So they were Christians too. These were so-called white Christians.
So You think they were actual Christians?
Hell no.
Okay.
They got a backwards understanding of God's word in the Bible.
Okay, but
like some so-called Muslims do.
But so you think 9/11 was justified?
No, not at all. I don't believe that.
Because it kind of sounds like you do.
No. What happened in
It kinda sounds
9/11
like
was
this
a
happened
crime
back then, so
against
this is-
humanity.
Okay.
It was a crime against humanity. But let's not pretend that that's the first time that airplanes were used as weapons of mass destruction against American citizens.
Well, they were commercial airlines, right? With
Commercial or
passengers.
plane, period, don't matter to me. It's
They
a plane.
flew into the tallest building in America, and at the time, maybe the tallest building in the world. I don't think the Burj Khalifa had been built, and destroyed a city. And the consequences have, and you're sitting here trying to say, oh, well, this happened before, so it's not a big deal, or the one man's
I'm not
terrorist
saying
is
that.
a free. You literally called the
What
9/11
I'm
people
saying
freedom
is-
fighters. You
what I-
literally
what I'm
called them
saying is-
freedom fighters.
No,
Quanell.
that's
It's
not what I
disgusting.
said. I said one
That's
man's
exactly
terrorist.
what you said.
I said one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter. Let me explain that further. There are many in America who call our military servicemen and women who went into Iraq and helped bring down the Saddam regime and killed tens of thousands. But we were wrong for that because there was no weapons of mass destruction. So in the eyes of the Iraqis, we are terrorists who went over there and did that.
Actually,
So
many
one man's
Iraqis-
terrorist, another man's freedom fighter.
it
We looked at them as
it
freedom
depends on-
fighters. They were seen as terrorists in
It depends
Iraq.
on what Iraqis you're talking about, because of course Saddam Hussein was killing a whole bunch of people that were of a different.
He ain't
religious
doing
sect.
nothing that the Chinese
Okay,
president ain't doing.
But he also
He
invaded.
ain't doing nothing
he
that
invaded
some
Kuwait.
of America's allies
I am
not doing.
against the Iraq War. I was against Desert Storm. I was against just. I don't think America needs to play world police. Maybe we should spend some money on universal health care for American citizens.
That would be beautiful.
Better and safer schools for American citizens, instead of spending our money all over the damn world for countries that don't give a damn about us. But also what we might want to do is stop teaching Americans, when you talk about freedom fighters, to hate this country, right? Maybe we should return to telling Americans, whether they're gay, straight, black, white, hey, this is the best game going, this is why everyone's trying to get here, and we can improve some things, but we should all love this country. Because when you say something like, well, one man's is a freedom fighter, that's disgusting. 9/11
It's
was
true.
disgusting. To hell with everyone that hates this country. If you hate this country, to hell with you.
Well, Charles, let me say this. I would encourage everybody to love what is good about America, to love what makes America a nation that everyone on
You
on
were just
earth
justifying
at some
9/11.
point has fought to come to. But we have to hate that which is wicked about America. We have to
So
hate
9/11 was
that
okay
which
in
is
Quanell's
bad
book.
about America. And 9/11 was a wicked act and a crime against humanity.
Okay.
But
It was a crime
but
against
I'm telling you-
America.
but I'm telling you, when you look at the very people who attacked Al-Qaeda, who attacked America on 9/11, Osama bin Laden was trained and developed and financed by America. When Osama bin Laden was fighting against Russia, him and the Mujahideen, it was the American CIA who gave them, in a proxy war against Russia, all of the military training and equipment and taught them how to blow up buildings. So Osama bin Laden was a Frankenstein that America helped create. The same way ISIS founder, the founder of ISIS, was also in a prison in America for terrorism. We released him. He went and established ISIS and started killing all kinds of people. That's a Frankenstein that we helped create.
Well, I mean, I'll agree with you. We should keep terrorists in prison till they die. But at the end of the day, what you're talking about, I mean, Saddam Hussein, we armed him to keep
Yeah, we did, against Iran.
But it doesn't change the fact that the attack on America was disgusting. It doesn't change the fact that today in America we're teaching American citizens in public schools to hate America. It doesn't change the fact that we are in a country where we'd rather point the finger at each other, demonize gay people, demonize straight people, demonize black
You don't
people,
think it's
demonize white
strange
people, instead of all of us saying, hey,
But you
America
don't think it's strange,
rules.
Charles?
Go try it.
But you don't think it's strange that we captured Osama bin Laden with the orders to kill him and not bring him to trial?
No, I think we're very absolutely.
That was wrong.
I'm glad they killed him.
That was wrong.
I'm glad they put
that
him
was
down.
wrong. That
to
was
hell
wrong.
with Osama
that was
bin
wrong.
Laden.
They should have put Osama bin Laden on trial. They should have brought him to America just the same way they did all the drug cartel leaders. They should have brought him to America and put him on trial.
Hey, SEAL Team 6, good job.
And I would say SEAL Team 6, good job in capturing him, one of the world's leading terrorists, but it was wrong to not put him on trial. And I believe America did not want to put him on trial for specific reasons, because they did not want to have a trial.